Hello and welcome. I'm Michelle Abad and you're watching Rappler Talk. Last week, the Armed Forces of the Philippines posted on Facebook a list of 27 people said to be from the University of the Philippines who allegedly joined the New People's Army and later died or were eventually captured by the military. The AFP has since deleted the list and apologized for its error, but not without it first spreading online. Joining me today are three of the alumni on that list: Free Legal Assistance Group lawyer Rafi Aquino, ex-Phil Health Chief Alexander Padilla, and playwright and Palanca awardee Liza Magtoto. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hello, Michelle.
Hello. So
Good
you were
afternoon.
tagged. Good afternoon. So you were tagged as dead or captured, but as we can see here, you're alive and well. So for our viewers who are not very familiar with your work, can you please briefly explain to us your line of work after graduating from UP?
Okay, sige.
By
Ako na
age.
muna siguro.
By age.
Oh, by
Age
age,
before
by age.
beauty.
Sige, by age. Sige, okay. I'm from UP College of Law. 1977 to 1981. Yeah, after College of Law, I spent some time in private practice, but most of my life, I mean over 20 years, was spent in government. So I was with the Bureau of Customs as Commissioner of Customs. I was the Department of Health Undersecretary. I was the Department of Interior Local Government, Undersecretary of Health, and then PhilHealth President. I was also with the Office of the Ombudsman as well as with the Department of Justice as a senior prosecutor. And I think the most notable of which was that I was also chair of the government peace panel negotiating with the CPP NPA in 2010 to 2013. Thank you.
Ako na yata, no, Rafi? Yeah. Okay. I was after graduation. I've been a freelance scriptwriter, and a theater artist teacher. So I also wrote scripts for ABS-CBN Foundation for their educational television shows like Siniscuela, etc. I also wrote for GMA. And I've been a playwright of various plays, especially in PETA, or Philippine Educational Theater Association. I've done plays on violence against women, on children's rights. I also did Rock of Ages and Care Divas, among others. Ayun po.
My turn. After graduating and passing the bar, I entered private law practice, first in a Makati-based law firm. After 7 years, some UP law classmates and I set up our own firm. And I am still part of that firm as a senior partner. All throughout my career as a lawyer, I've been a member of the Free Legal Assistance Group. And for the past 25 years or more, I've been a Rotarian, a member of the Rotary Club of Makati Bel Air, one of its past presidents, and a legal counsel of the district, the Rotary International District 3830, for 8 terms. Right now, I am part of the team of lawyers deployed by FLAG for its clients, mostly from media and some members of Congress, questioning the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020 before the Supreme Court. That litigation is still ongoing and is set for oral arguments on Monday. So that's it.
So what was your reaction when you saw your name on that list from the AFP Information Exchange?
Can I go
found
first?
it.
Or ikaw na. No, go ahead.
I found it funny until I started to process what this could possibly mean, and then I started to get apprehensive. I think it was Lisa here who immediately created a chat group among those in the list that knew each other. So that helped a lot. And then in less than 24 hours, we were facing the media. This was last Saturday. So if I found it funny, and then I got scared.
Yeah, same. I yeah, for me I got this I had this out of body experience. It felt like that wasn't me, you know. So I had disbelief, nervous laughter, lahat nakakaloka. It rage and everything. Next day nagka-high blood ako. So you know, nananahimik ako eh. So my first thought was like, why me? Why now? Kalagitnaan ng pandemia, instead of, you know, talking about the vaccine and handling COVID-19 and all that. Why are we talking about this? And then so then I got scared too, because of course, you know, our lives are in danger. You never know how this administration or what the people in it are going to do about this list, you know.
Yeah, ako rin naman, I was insulted, appalled, but then after that, angry, no? Dahil hindi ko maintindihan eh. Dahil nga, with my long service in government, I could not imagine. Tapos naging GRP negotiating panel chair pa nga ako. And then I felt apprehensive as well, but not really for myself, but for my friends and for all those that would probably be threatened or named in the future. Talagang nakakatakot ito nangyari sa amin.
Definitely, we could probably expect a whirlwind of emotion from you if you were somehow tagged by the government to be involved in communist activities when you're just living your lives. So, do you have any kind of speculation or thought why you would be included in that list among other UP graduates? I know that some of you back in your day you were student activists.
Analyzing that list, alam mo, these are friends of mine, my contemporaries, most of them anyway. We were all student leaders during the time. But this was circa late 70s and early 1980s. So talagang it's a 40-year list, no? And the list is even wrong, no? We are definitely not NPA, of course, no? Pero yun ang nakakatakot doon, that they are relying on a list that is 40 years old and it's still prevailing today. No, so yun na nga, you have to ask yourself, what is intelligence? What is the military intelligence all about? At bakit? How did a list like this come about? Na ganun-ganun na lamang ba yun? That they can come up with just a list and publish names, endanger our lives and ano, no. So yun lang, yun lang.
Yeah. Ako naman, at first, akala ko, this was due to some posts that I made on Defend UP, Defend Academic Freedom. And, you know, the hashtag generated a list of people and they would just randomly pick from it. But looking at the list, I saw that these are people I would meet on the hallways of Palma Hall and Vinson's Hall, and which are the student activity areas in UP. So I think I kind of agree with what I think Roel and Dingin said, that it was probably from their archives and then they got it from there. So there's this chilling effect, you know. Tama yung sinabi ni Alex, it's not just for our lives, but also for all those who were red tagged, even in the past and in the future.
Yeah. You know, a few hours before the list came out, Rappler actually posted an article I did on the UPDND Accord and its abrogation. That came out at around 2 p.m. By 6 p.m., suddenly I'm on a list accusing me of being an NPA. So my first reaction was, wow, that was fast. Okay. While Alex was, I think, president of the law student government in UP, I was with the UP Student Council. But that was the extent, you know, between having to study for your lessons to stay in UP and then catering to the needs of your girlfriend, and then having to discharge your duties in the University Student Council. Walang time para mag-NPA. So it's as simple as that. As with Alex and Lisa, there is also this sense of outrage and worry for other Filipinos who are in the protest movement or other conscientious Filipinos.
So last week we had a virtual presser via Zoom where you sort of called it like a reunion for
Yes.
your friends in UP. So you mentioned that there would be some legal remedies that you were considering. So what are these legal remedies?
Well, an
O,
entire
Rafi, ikaw na
menu.
yan.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, this is a new experience for Alex and myself because for the first time, we are not here as flag lawyers. We are here as flag clients. So it's refreshing. Nevertheless, we the group is considering several options. Um as I mentioned before, cyber libel is just one of them. There are also the protective writs, amparo and habeas data, administrative cases. You know, we're even considering bringing our officers to the court martial. And then, well, in all of these remedies, one constant will be our invocation not only of human rights, but also international humanitarian law. Okay? It's very important to us because the function of international humanitarian law is really to protect civilians who are not combatants, okay, in a situation of armed conflict. If it is true that the NPA insurgency is really still raging out there, although I understand there are less than 3,000, you know, even the military data shows that the NPA insurgency is at an ebb. But even so, even assuming that it's still ongoing, it actually falls on our security sector to protect non-combatants. Okay, so we will be invoking that. Uh, as to what exactly we will be uh, commencing, that is something that we will have to discuss closely with our lawyers.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned a menu of different legal remedies that you are considering, but I would like to zero in on the cyber libel possibility. So the tricky part about filing a cyber libel complaint is that you would recognize and accept the legitimacy of the law. So is this part of your dilemma as to why it's just one of your considerations?
Yes, you know, as kami ni Alex at least, no, hindi lang kami abogado, kaming tatlo are also part of the protest movement. So the chilling effect of cyber libel on free expression is a very real consideration that we are taking into account. So hindi basta-basta. Okay? Uh, but let me just add, if we do file cases, it is not really to out of vengeance, no, but it is also to
Yes,
help
correct.
our military establishment
Yeah.
reform its administration of its personnel, so that you know such standards or such virtues as professionalism and accountability uh, permeate through the ranks. No, hindi lang yung si SND Lorenzana ang merong nagpakita ng konting sensitivity sa ganitong mga prinsipyo, but it is our hope that it also permeates through the ranks.
Sir Alex, would you like to add?
Yeah, Michelle, we were also calling for the AFP and the security sector to really conduct a genuine, thorough investigation of what transpired, what went wrong. This was obviously not the work of just one person or a clerk, or possibly not even an office alone. This is a system of, well, mga GAF, sa AFP. For example, they've been collecting those shares, a 40-year-old list. Why do they even have lists to be published or made? I think the AFP and the security sector must take a good look at themselves, analyze and really evaluate, and come up with solutions and genuine reforms that this will never happen again. Alam mo, talagang chilling ito. Ito nangyari sa amin at sa mangyayari pa. I mean, who knows? Will our names be again released 3 years from now? We don't know. So the AFP must really have a top to bottom, not only reshuffle and possibly accountability, pero talagang imbestigahan nila what went wrong and what can they do right next time around.
It's wonderful that you mentioned your comments on the military as an institution and how well it does its work, and how this complaint, whatever it may be, can also help them reform from the inside. So
Yeah.
Secretary of Defense Lorenzana has ordered for the relief of Deputy Chief of Staff for Intelligence Alex Luna. So what else needs to be done to rectify this grievous error? And what do you think this says about the intelligence operations that are being done by our military?
Well, we'd like to commend naman Secretary Lorenzana for relieving the Deputy Director for Intelligence. And I think after that, nag-follow rin, nag-leave of absence yata yun Director for Civilian Operations, si Major General Arevalo. So to us, this is a good beginning, but let that not be the end effect. It's a good beginning in the sense that they really have to investigate further, go down to the roots, find out the accountability of others that may be responsible for this, and to really sincerely come up with rules and regulations na dapat wala ng red tagging, dapat wala ng listing of civilians, dapat, and even more so, they should not publish the names. They should be sensitive, because again, people's lives are put in danger. So yun ang dapat isipin nila, And this was the clearest example of an intelligence faux pas, of an error by the military intelligence. So I hope that this will be the start of a cleansing within the military and the intelligence network.
Oh yes, especially, this happened to us, but we are fortunate that we are connected with friends in media. We have access to lawyers. So we were immediately able to bring our situation and our story to you guys. But what about ordinary Filipinos? When you are red tagged in the times we live in, it's like a target has been pinned on your back. Okay, in my statement on the relieving of J2, I likened this list to an order of battle. Okay? I don't know if it is tantamount to facilitation of military targeting. Okay? Paano yung mga ordinaryong mamamayan? Especially now that they're assaulting our campuses. Otherwise conscientious students, otherwise enlightened and passionate teachers will just be chilled into silence. How is that a democracy? What kind of society are we creating if we allow this to continue to happen to our people? So, hindi pwede talaga . We have to stand our ground and assert what is ours by law.
I would like to ask you, Ma'am Lisa, touching upon something that Sir Rafi said, that once you are tagged, there's a target on your back. And thinking
Yeah.
about the supposed operations, intelligence operations of the military, somehow they were able to come up with your name, who is a renowned playwright who has written so many wonderful plays. What do you think about that?
That was really weird. No, actually, that's what it just speaks to me about how, well, Secretary Lorenzana already said it. It's a lackadaisical, sloppy to say the least. What's the regard for scientific procedure in coming up with a list like that? So um, beyond us, but what I've been thinking is, what do they think about due process? What do they think about the process? I mean, due process. And so, do you shoot before you question? Do you list before you check, double check? Do you abrogate before you dialogue? So what do they think about criticism of the government? Because I am in a field where we tend to question also what's happening in our country, and we would like to present what the state of the state of affairs in our country in an artistic way. So will that affect us also? No.
Yes, definitely. It's very strange that we're seeing these billions of pesos that are being poured into the intelligence efforts of the government, and yet we come up with this list that isn't even correct. So I would like to touch upon now on the anti-terror law. So the government has promised to be thorough in its validation process, even though rights groups were warning that it would probably come up with trigger-happy implementation. And as we can see in this list, in this whole fiasco with the AFP, this is exactly what happened. So, Sir Rafi, you are part of the flag lawyers that will question the validity of the anti-terror law before the Supreme Court. So, what can we expect?
Well, it will be a chance for not only FLAG, but other council and other petitioners. It's really, there are 37 petitions. It is probably the most contested law in recent Philippine constitutional litigation history. No? We are going to question primarily the effect of the Anti-Terror Act on free expression. Free expression is foundational to democracy. In our jurisprudence, free expression is entitled to the greatest protection, to the greatest degree of protection. Okay? Even before anyone is arrested, our argument is that the Supreme Court can immediately invalidate the Anti-Terror Act because of the sheer vagueness of the key definitions in the law. Okay, it leaves such a wide room for interpretation and allows law enforcers to actually determine state policy. Okay, because the law itself is unclear, they can interpret it any which way. And I think practices such as coming up with this list will be part of the consequences of such a poorly drafted statute. Okay? So we're going to plead that before the Supreme Court. We've already designed our pleadings around that theory, and we're going to hammer on that message in the oral arguments.
Ms. Lisa, Sir Alex, any comments about the anti-terror law?
Well, ako, my short comment is that no matter what the military or the security says, that they will really study the list, they will analyze it. Coming up with our own list was the biggest example na pagkakamali. No? So if that can happen to us, can you imagine what will happen if the anti-terrorism law is indeed validated and legitimated? No?
Okay. Sige.
No, I defer to them.
Oh, okay.
I agree with them. Okay.
So, Sir Rafi, you mentioned front and center about the arguments against the anti-terror law is really the freedom of expression. And state-enabled red tagging is definitely not new. It's not impossible that the military and the police can still red tag more critical thinkers and activists in the future. So a question for all, what does this say about the state of our democracy and free speech in our country?
Our democracy is under threat, definitely. Uh, the state has a legitimate interest in fighting terrorism. Who will disagree with that? But the state must adopt the narrowest means available so that it doesn't encroach into constitutionally protected freedoms. And the first freedom is free expression. All the other constitutional rights are founded on free expression. So, especially inciting to sedition, even the place of a Palanca awardee like Lisa Magtoto can be the source of unpleasant consequences for her and her talents on stage under the Anti-Terror Act. So what does that say about free expression? It's not there. If there is no free expression, there is actually no democracy.
It's so fragile, it's so shaky. So, there is fear
Yep.
that you can be branded and labeled as either pula, dila, whatever color, instead of listening to each other. It seems that on social media, you feel like you're free, but no, there's always that threat of being silenced. But then, we also learned this during martial law as activists, that the more that you repress, the more people will push the boundaries, as long as the reason for protesting, why they are lamenting the state of governance and economy, etc., is still there. People will oppose, will rise up.
Yeah. Also, I agree. Our democracy is fragile. It's in peril. This was our fight, 45 years ago during martial law, when we fought for our democratic rights. We tried to fight for justice, and we're still doing it 40 years after. So what does that tell of our state of affairs today? So mukhang talagang dapat protektahan, dapat ipaglaban, at let's strengthen our democracy by really espousing for our rights and fighting for our liberties. That's the only way to go. We cannot give in to perceived threats of terrorism, and we must give way more to academic excellence, academic freedom, and the fight for our rights. Thanks.
I think maybe for a closing note, I would like to ask what your message would be for students who are trying to live out their academic freedom, because this is not just a problem that UP is dealing with, but we're seeing the government red tag more and more students from different schools, calling them recruitment haven. So what's your message for students who want to keep on going and keep on defending their academic freedom?
I have belief in the youth. I have hope in the youth. And I think they are on the right track in terms of opposing and being critical about the situation. And ituloy lang nila whatever it is that they feel they should do, so that things will not go, the way things are seem to be going right now. That they're just randomly picking people up and all that. We must uphold our right to free expression, to protest, to criticize. And, because that is the essence of democracy. We tell each other what's wrong with our government so that we can live a better life in our country.
Ako naman, intellectual liberty is very fragile. It's one of the most delicate of our rights. But, the only way to strengthen intellectual liberty and free expression is to exercise it. So, tama si Lisa eh. Wala na kami masasabi kung hindi ituloy lang. In this regard, let me just say this. For our old school, the school that the three of us share, it is our hope that the maturity and sobriety shown by Secretary Lorenzana could spill over in the DND's handling of the UP agreement with it. Sana magpanumbalik yung dalawang partido sa lamesa upang pag-usapan to. Okay? Yun, let me end on that for UP.
Yeah. Sa akin naman siguro, well, for the students to maintain their idealism, at tama si Lisa, tama rin si Rafi, it is not only to try and enforce your rights, but you must demand it. You must exercise it. Do not be frightened or scared away by thoughts of being red tagged or ano. Talagang karapatan nyo to. At kung walang lalaban sa karapatan nyo, may iwan tayo sa isang, we will again enter a darkness, no? Nagkaroon ng martial law where all our freedoms were lost. So keep on fighting, and I hope that our student body maintain their idealism, their genuine need and desire for democracy, and their thirst for freedom. I'll end that way also. Thank you.
Thirsting for freedom and defending academic freedom. Thank you so much, Rafi Aquino, Alexander Padilla, and Lisa Mactodo for joining this program. This has been Rappler Talk.